Hi there, I'm John from CNCKing.com, and today we're making a custom oak mold. What you might be aware is that I have a side business called sandboxranch.com that makes custom oak, poplar, and other kind of hardwood and softwood banks for children and adults of all ages, all custom fabricated. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because part of that process there is actually laminating wood, because you can't find large slabs like this of oak that are dimensionally stable. And therefore what you do is you cut it down into small pieces and you fabricate your own slab, and it makes it a lot more stable. Now the reason why I told you that is because this is how this is made. You can see the back of it. If you look really closely, it's hard to tell because the glue up is so perfect, but there are different slabs of wood here, and they're all glued up together to make a solid piece of board like this. Now the reason why this is important is for the banks, we don't want something warping on us prematurely. We want something that will last for generations, and because of that, when you have laminated wood like this, you probably see it a little bit better on the edge here. When you have laminated wood like this here, if it's going to warp, it's not all going to warp together. It's going to warp a little bit here and there and here and there, and it sort of balances itself out over time, especially if you seal it. Now that's actually important for thermoforming because you have heat generated and above the surface, and you have something hot going onto it. Now that causes warping in any kind of wood, and so in this case here it's oak, it's a hardwood, and we're going to see based on what the customer tells us feedback wise if this is actually going to work well for their project. What I really enjoy about this CNC router that I have, this is actually the third one I've had. I've always upgraded router to router to router, and this is the first one I have with a solid gantry. And as you can see, the table's moving, but the gantry above it is not. And that means you can have an incredible amount of weight and strength inside of something that doesn't have to move. Now having the table move also means the table is very heavy. I can't lift this table by myself, and I obviously cannot pick up the gantry either. The whole machine's around 12,000 pounds. So what that means is the vibrations that would normally be produced by doing this type of work on hardwood or softwood or what have you, just aren't there. If there are any vibrations, that's because of the material itself that I definitely see on polycarbonate. But for wood like this here, it's not an issue. And that's really nice because when I'm doing molds, it means that the stepping, between the different intervals of what I'm doing, basically layers, are totally accurate, totally even, and very, very much repeatable. And that's something I can't do with any other machine I've ever had, and that's the reason why I got this machine to begin with. Now, you don't really notice the steppers when I use the large bit, but when I use the small bit, which is what you see now, that's when you see every step of the router bit cutting through. In this case here, it's oak. And it makes such a massive difference. I just can't emphasize that enough, just how wonderful the finish is on this. And if I wanted more defined finish, I could definitely have more steps between the different intervals of the router bit. But for something like this here, it just produces a wonderful result that I just really, really enjoy working with, not only for molds, but everything else I do here in the shop. So let's take a look at a close-up of it, just so you can get an idea. It looks identical. All the marks, everything is identical to what you'd have. This is straight off the machine, by the way. It's identical to what you'd have with MDF, which is generally what we use for this kind of project here. Now the reason why we use MDF is because it's dimensionally stable again. It's very easy to seal and hard coat for thermoforming and other purposes, for positive and negative mold making. And the reason why we're looking at oak for this specific project is because oak is also along all those variables. We're going to see if it lasts a little bit longer than the MDF versions that we make. So that's why. So if you're looking for a custom mold, literally any material, any size, any shape, contact me at CNCKing.com. We'll make it for you and ship it right to your door.